Hello and welcome to ET Auto and to another episode of Target Net Zero, an exclusive discussion series with featuring industry captains and industry experts on the overall subject of the automotive industry's journey towards the ultimate goal of carbon neutrality. At the outset, on behalf of ET Auto, I would like to wish you and your loved ones an absolutely happy, healthy, and fulfilling 2022. And on that positive note, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome the guest of today's episode, Dr. Reggie Mathai, who is the director of ARAI, or Automotive Research Association of India, which, as we all know, is an industry research body, which also plays a very key role in formulating standards as well as regulations for the automotive industry in India. Dr. Mathai, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Barua, for this time and for ET Auto for this platform. First of all, greetings from ARI and New Year wishes to all the listeners. I think this topic of net zero is quite apt, particularly looking ahead and what we need to do and take care as a body that helps the regulations, helps the industries to look ahead, also to bring quality to the customers so that they have the satisfaction. So I believe bringing in all these solutions together in the coming days are challenging, but it's also going to be an interesting times.
And at this point, to those who may not be aware, Dr. Mathai is also an oil industry veteran with no less than almost 3 decades of a stint in his previous organization. So we look forward to getting a lot of insights from Dr. Mathai on around fuels as well. So starting with that, Dr. Mathai, flex fuels has been a topic of discussion during the year that's just gone by. I'm sure it will gain more traction in 2022. So, from the India perspective, what are the opportunities that you see for the flex fuels in the Indian industry?
This topic has been in the news for quite some time. Means off and on, this was making rounds, and particularly governments push what they started with ethanol, trying for its scaling up in a phased manner, has been one of the precursors for its takeoff, the big talk now taking place and government's bigger statements coming out. Looking at it, we need to understand that our import dependency needs to be reduced. That is one of the key things that we all agreed to. There is no two thoughts about it. The second understanding that everybody has is the use of renewables or alternative sources, particularly which are more closer and which finally will impact the LC or the life cycle analysis for the fuel as such. Is again a key thing. So again, there is no two thoughts about it, that we should be having a lot of inputs coming in from renewables. So ethanol is a very good candidate in that direction. Means we have been using it, the regulatory requirements of around 10% was there mandated. We were around 4.5, 4.6 and almost now touching 8.99%. And the government recently put up a panel on it, where multiple ministries were there and ETI was driving it. And they deliberated on it, and now they have preponed the launch of E20 from 2030 to 2025. So this has also been now put into perspective. Coming to flex fuel is then almost a next step to it, but there is substantial technological changes needed, and the visibility for the flex fuel availability, means the fuel availability is also going to be a major driver for it. One of the assurance the industry has been now getting is the availability of ethanol, which has been, as I mentioned, from 5% pan-India to almost 9%, 8.99% pan-India now. And with the interventions that have been planned, if we are able to see the 20% availability, which government has assured, and I think government will be taking care of it because there's a lot of plans going on. So there will be a platform ready for the ethanol availability in a much bigger way. So one of the fears can be taken care of. If I make a technology ready, will there be takers or will the fuel be ready? I think that will be addressed to some extent in the coming days.
Right.
Regarding the technology itself, we don't have any much doubts about it because see, our two-wheeler industry is exporting vehicles to countries which are using flex fuel.
Namely Brazil and others.
Yes, so it is well-known fact that the technology very much exists. Four-wheelers, yes, there will be some gaps there, here and there, but again, the same players who are offering solutions there are available and playing here also. But the developing that ecosystem needed, it's whatever the hardware is needed, is going to be a little of what we need to push it. So one of the good things Ministry has been doing, the Ministry of Heavy Industries have been doing is, they have launched the technology platforms where we are also a player and we are supporting anybody who comes forward for it through solutions or testing, evaluations. All these things are now made available. So we have got ample time. If you look at it around 2 to 3 times, but as we all want a more clearer picture once it emerges, I think we will see many solutions being unfolding and many players taking it.
Right. You know, hypothetically or theoretically speaking, there is little, there is hardly an argument against ethanol or flex fuel at the next stage. But in terms of developing the ecosystem, it's perhaps easier said than done, because if you're talking about a migration, mass migration to flex fuels, which is very high level of ethanol content, you're talking about not only the infrastructure at the refinery level, you're talking about the distribution level, and not to forget the car park, which are vehicles which are not tuned to be run on that level of ethanol blending. So these are some of the challenges. So now, from how do you see? What are the ways you think can be taken to kind of address such challenges?
So it will not be a very, it will be a slow takeoff. Anyway happening this. These are anyway specialized vehicles. Not that everything will be converted, sort of a thing. Whatever is the current vehicle park, they will exist. This will be add-on vehicles. So there has to be a value proposition for the customer coming into it. He has to see that there is a cost incentive, the total cost of ownership for him is beneficial for him in some way for him to switch over or to think about it. And the vehicle manufacturer will also be very much for looking at analyzing it before he jumps into it and offering such solutions to them. So when government thinks about it, I think government understands this whole paradigm that has to be, they have to address this. So they understand the whole scenario. So the pricing will be a key thing. Availability, refineries may not come into play when flex fuel comes into, because the scenario that Brazil is having is there will be oil marketing companies may come into play, because normally what happens is there is a separate dispenser altogether for ethanol. A person fills gasoline and can fill in ethanol of whatever percentage he requires. So that's how it works over there. So the similar concept may come. We have to still think about all those things. What are the regulatory mechanisms, how it will be marketed, pricing, taxation. These are all things that has to be falling into place. But yes, there is a readiness and there is a willingness from the government side. And I think the stakeholders will start getting engaged once, as I mentioned, the fuel scenario becomes more clearer to them. The availability of ethanol becomes more clearer to them. So I see that this more evolving in the period starting from maybe around 23 onwards. When you see that beyond the 10% push has started, the availability is becoming more readily visible for everyone. So I think more players will start coming into play. Coming coming into the hardware part, yes, there are going to be certain sensors and all those things needed. We have to see how those things are manufactured. Then there are certain fuel compatible
materials also in the powertrain, right?
Either will be needed for that, which may have the pricing issues and all that. Other area will be on the CAFE norms as such, because see, the countries like Brazil and all have not been into BS6 till now. And we are into BS6, and again, adopting flex fuel is going to be one of the things. But again, industry, I know, has the capability. The only thing is the bandwidth needed for them to develop with multiple challenges coming up is going to be what is needed.
So going by the current planned timeline in terms of E20 and eventually flex fuel, so do you think that India could perhaps be the first BS6 or such equivalent market in the world to adopt this level of ethanol blend?
I think that will be a very good statement, that if we can make it completely clear, means I think that will be a very big one. And I have to get to see on US and all how they have been, because there also this availability is there. But up to what level the vehicles are calibrated, we need to look into that. Means are they meeting the BS6 basic requirement, means a minimum requirement of equivalent over there, or are they being given some privileges at a lower level?
Right.
There are a lot of incentivization government can think of, maybe coming into play once the discussions evolve and as the markets evolve, like carbon neutrality or carbon credits or things like that when you use flex fuel. So we have to see that. Exactly. But these are, as I mentioned, times to engage and times to really bring out a roadmap clarity in the coming days. Yes.
Right. And since we are talking carbon neutrality, another fuel which comes to mind is CNG, bio CNG, for example. So that would really has the best chance in current scenario, in the current ecosystem, to really help in the industry move towards carbon neutrality, reduce its carbon footprint for starters. So one is that, and generally as an alternative fuel, and in terms of the energy mix for the automotive industry, do you think this decade, the coming years will see a huge change in the dynamics?
I think we once we start looking into what we need to attain, means the goal is set now. The net zero goal is set. We need to bring in the carbon neutrality into that. Once it is set, we need to understand which pathways we have to follow. We will always have multiple resources available. As you rightly mentioned, CBG, from the biogas, the CNG from the bio is one of the key aspects, because it is the use of the waste, complete renewable, your carbon neutrality comes into play and all that in a big way. So the only aspects that has to work in that is how to put that into force. So Ministry of Petroleum had brought in a scheme called Satat long back. So they have announced and they have launched it. They have assured a buyback from the people who are generates CBG, that the OMC, the oil marketing company, will buy at assured rate. The quality has to be of automotive grade. So these are in place as of now. So what is needed beyond that is, and see, the waste aggregation is the biggest challenge as of now, and segregation. So such mechanisms, once it comes into play on a bigger scale, if some cities have adopted it, some cities are adopting it, the players from CBG can pitch it, who can be the manufacturer can pitch it. And in the longer days, everybody knows with the almost emission norms meeting, same for CNG and for diesel or for gasoline. It is not the net, the emissions that are critical as of now, but how you meet that through the technological thing, that is going to be a key player. Now also we don't have very many dedicated CNG passenger vehicles as of now. The commercial segments, yes, because there is no concept of biofuel, is not at all applicable over there. But for the passenger segment, we are still, we want to see, because once that setup is ready for available for the CNG / CBG, we will see high efficiency vehicles coming into play. which are much better efficient than the current one because of the biofuel scenario that we are facing as of now. And it can be a major player. It can be a major player because the visibility of CNG through the PNGRB and all are in place by the government. And CBG adding to it will be a value proposition, which many takers will be there. Recently, see, I got certain feelers from one of the logistic providers to one of the big companies. They came and just told that we want to switch over to CNG. So the reason is my person who is saying he wants to showcase more carbon neutrality and all that. Mm-hmm. So see, there is the drivers from that side also. There are many players who want to showcase it.
And the growing awareness about the environmental challenge is also becoming a driving factor for the adoption of such alternative fuels, right?
Exactly. So these are good times for them.
Yeah. And talking about technology roadmap and technology development, ARAI also plays a key role. I mean, you have your in-house technology development team, especially on the powertrain and fuel side. I recall some years ago, you had developed a biofuel engine, which was, I think, picked up by a foreign company for agriculture application. This I'm talking about a few years ago. Any such developments at ARAI? Any new developments at ARAI currently?
So EV coming in has made many of them shift their focus to that and outsource or what can they offload their normal IC engine development work. So we are seeing that trend happening in a big way. And we welcome that also because we believe that we have that bandwidth now to carry out such studies. And we are ready for it. So as you rightly mentioned, we started with certain engines in the long back. I'm very happy to say that one of the engines developed has been offered to a European country and the parts are being manufactured here. So you can understand the technology export that is happening now rather than import. So we are quite happy about that. Along with that, we have also provided solutions to the defense for large scale development of engines and other conversions also we are looking into. And particularly this conversion to CNG, because many players never had a CNG portfolio as such.
Right.
They were not focused on that. But now as they see that evolving and want a faster solutions, we are ready for that and we are providing good solutions because we have got a very dedicated team working on it. I can say that we have almost a center of excellence for alternate engines or alternate powertrain readily available with us.
Okay, and good to know about. Congratulations to you and your team on this project, which you, as I said, that was picked up by an European OEM. What fuel technology is it?
It's a diesel one. So, but there are other ones we are coming up with, and we are ready to give them as and when things are required. But this is a diesel technology that they have taken.
All right. In terms of ARAI has been playing a key role in terms of helping in formulating standards and also the roadmap for regulations. Currently, when it comes to the adoption of alternative fuels, what is the roadmap you see for India? I mean, we spoke about, yes, ethanol, E20 blend by 2025 and followed by flex fuels. But generally, how do you see the overall fuel technology roadmap shaping up for India?
Yeah, that is where some challenges are there for us. Everybody would like to see a complete picture before us laid, so that they can work on an optimum and the best solutions they can offer to everyone. And it is a win-win situation for all. But being a diverse country with the diverse needs, many a times there are sporadic decisions or sporadic, what can I say, bigger pictures that evolve out of it. It is not rare for our own place. We should not take that. There are countries that, as you know, Brazil goes with flex fuel in a altogether different way. They have evolved over time and they have now established it. There is countries like Indonesia which goes with biodiesel in a big way because of the availability and readiness for it. So everybody we would like the stakeholders to engage and say that, okay, this is the roadmap for complete for the alternate fuel or the fuels that are going to come in.
Right.
In certain cases, yes, we are ready. As I've been pointing about ethanol, we have got some clarity on it, and now we are moving ahead with it. The flex fuel will evolve in time to come. In diesel, yes, there is the specification which meets up to 7% can be blended in the diesel spec. It's already there. Beyond that, the availability is the constraint. So once it is made available, I don't see any problem in adopting to the technologies to come forward. And with given time frame, the best solutions can be given. And I think the industry has never withheld itself from any such developments, particularly any green developments.
Of course, the industry, the Indian automotive industry has never withheld from itself from developing new technologies, and also meeting certain challenges. The BS6 challenge is an example. But having said that, there is also a feedback that perhaps the government can do better in terms of rolling out a roadmap, a sustainable roadmap, clearly marked timelines, and which will help industry stakeholders not only in terms of time, but in terms of kind of formulating the strategies and making the necessary investment at the right time, develop the technologies and the solutions to meet those set targets. Do you think perhaps there is room for improvement there?
Some engagements have happened. I think I clearly remember SIAM giving up a white paper on what should be and what can be sort of a picture. And I believe there has been some preponement on that happening, and some as I mentioned, there can be certain times when government sees that this can be attained at a faster rate or at a much faster pace. The timelines, normally what the industry seeks is around 4 to 5 years between regulations or a new introduction, which becomes a little tighter, and if already multiple decisions are happening, it becomes still more complex for them. This transition, particularly for OBD happening, the CF, the conformity factor happening, others think coming in, is going to be a little challenging. I understand that. That is where the problem everybody is facing as of now. The bandwidth and the required capacity utilization means capacity building becomes very difficult for everyone. But I think it can be, they have shown forth, and I know the resilience is there. It's not an easy one. For the best is always that a long-term roadmap can be put into place. And for that, the regulatory mechanism do that engagement. We do the stakeholders meeting on a continuous basis, except for 1 or 2 off cases do happen. Yeah.
And also there was a representation from the industry in terms of kind of revising the deadlines for the RD norms, which is the BS6 phase 2, and also the CAFE 2 norms. Any update on that in terms of because the industry wanted them to be clubbed and maybe shifted, goalposts to be shifted a little.
Yeah, the deliberations are still on. I think there is nothing solid has come out of it as of now. I think the deliberations are still on with the stakeholders.
And also, Dr. Mathai, when it comes to a technology roadmap, and especially one related to fuels, can India pick up a kind of a page or two from the lessons in other markets, including maybe from Brazil?
Yeah, see, as I mentioned, Brazil evolution, if you see, they have evolved over a time. And there were ups and downs. If you look into their histories also, you can say there are times when they announced that this much blending has to take place, but it has fallen back at times due to availability constraints, technology constraints, and all that. But they have evolved over the time and taken it. Now, I think this is a phase where always the challenge, struggle will be there. Now we can look and say that, yeah, they are doing great, sort of a thing. But the journey, if you look at it, has not been so smooth as we are and we see now as of now. So India will take its time, but I think we are not, because one of our robust, what I can say, strength is that we have technology providers within ourselves. We don't have to depend on it. So the changes or the corrections to be made can be done in-house, and this will be taken in its stride. But yes, there will be a time when it will be a little troublesome. It may see that this is a very tough time. But once we overcome it, we will look back and say, yes, we have achieved it. Just like you mentioned about the BS4 to BS6.
Indeed.
Because as if it was going to be an impossible target.
It almost seemed impossible, absolutely. And the industry has showed its capabilities by meeting them. And in the process,
the question of fuel availability was also being asked at that time.
Indeed,
also.
Yeah, I recall the concerns about the availability of fuel. Yes, if the vehicles are ready, but if the fuel is not ready. But I think all stakeholders came together to create what can be said called a world record of sorts, right? No other country reached leapfrogged a regulation and in such a short time.
So as you rightly mentioned in the beginning, maybe the flex fuel will be the one where we will be with BS6 as the first country to come with the flex fuel.
Yes, and best wishes to all the industry stakeholders to be able to do that as well. Another fuel, hydrogen, been talked about in the global and Indian automotive scenario for long, but last year, a couple of it's really gained a lot of traction. I think that the time has finally come for this much talked about fuel for the critical adoption.
Yeah, there is a lot of now movement in that. The Honorable Prime Minister making a statement during the Independence Day. So that plays a very key role, means the top's vision or the top's importance given to such breakthrough areas. And this has really caught on, and multiple agencies are working on it. As you know, that the availability, the infrastructure needed for demonstrations, even for testing and certifications, we require capabilities. Currently, only the safety aspects we are completely ensured for the fuel cell vehicles and adoption and all that is in place. The logics for transportation regarding the high pressure permissions. So many areas needs to be now parallelly addressed to hasten its implementation. But it is a very much of a need. Why I believe that is, as we move towards this carbon neutral or net zero sort of a thing, hydrogen, particularly from the renewable sources, is going to be a key game changer. I will not be surprised to see it being used in the energy industry itself. Like the OMC is utilizing hydrogen for producing such fuels to see that the total life cycle analysis comes down significantly, even for the fossil fuels that are being, because now the development, the production itself is highly energy intensive or carbon intensive sort of a thing. The reformation taking for bringing in hydrogen, if it can be directly taken from green sources or solar or things like that.
Right.
So all these things are important areas where industry will be looking in a very big way. As I mentioned, companies want to make a statement regarding adoption of green or carbon, zero carbon fuels and all. So they are more than willing to pay extra for adopting such things or using such things in their ecosystem, in their systems of logistics or power gen or various applications like that. So, and we have people who are coming up with solutions also. Recently, one of the, I can't say manufacturer, technology provider was ready with solutions, and they were showcasing that why a fuel cell vehicle can be made ready. And most of them were from indigenous sources. That was the biggest thing. Everything but put together.
And as these developments happen at ARAI, because ARAI is also the is a homologating body for vehicles in India. Are you also drawing new framework for such vehicles? Are you reworking your framework, homologation framework guidelines for these technologies, vehicles with these technologies, which will come up in the coming years?
See, currently the overall performance is being assessed as of now. The component level, no. Just like for EVs, we are into component level testing, like motors, batteries, or other the EMC compatibilities of various components. But when looking into fuel cell, now the overall evaluation of the vehicle, the performance, the safety aspects are being taken into consideration. The component level has to evolve. It will take still time because it requires testing and validation mechanism to be put into place, which are costly and which at this juncture we believe that may not be needed. But in future, to ensure just like a fuel economy or a range sort of a thing to be devised for such solutions for fuel cell related vehicles also, we may have to look into more of a component level aspects also. But yes, safety is completely been ensured as of now. And moreover, we are also thinking of setting up few facilities, particularly to support development of storage cylinders, type 3, type 4, where the testing facilities are not much in India. We are thinking of setting up one complete facility where the cylinder test facility, cylinders can be tested once we start manufacturing type 3 and type 4 cylinders.
These were for hydrogen cylinders.
Hydrogen cylinders, exactly.
Right. And lastly, Dr. Mathai, at the COP26 conference, the global conference, where now we saw the Honorable Prime Minister also participated, and India committed to go carbon neutral by year 2070. Towards that, now what's the role you think the automotive industry can play, and within that, what kind of support, what kind of role will ARA play in this journey?
See, the broad contours are now defined. We all know where we have to reach. There are multiple pronged approach it is going to be, and I believe there are players are all looking into that. If you look into the automotive sector, the total life cycle analysis is going to play a key role for them. From component, they are not just looking into the energy, what is going to be the energy level sort of life cycle emissions and all that, the GHG emissions. From the manufacturing point of view itself, they will start looking into it. Which components, how to see that a better carbon less intensity component can be used. This has to be worked out in a big way, and we have got sufficient timelines now. I think the roadmap, as mentioned, everybody will be thinking about it. Maybe some stakeholder engagements will take place in due course of time, where we are and how we are reaching out. Looking particularly from our side, we have been working on lightweighting of the vehicles in a big way. Recently, we developed an aluminum body for a bus, and which reduces weight by 30%. And this brings in a lot of scope, particularly with the EV coming in, because the range significantly enhances, and you can accommodate more weight, tare weight into that also.
Weight directly has a direct correlation with the range.
The range, exactly, and the battery storage capacity can be reduced. So many optimizations could be done. So this has been now looked into, and manufacturers are now looking into it. So this is totally an aluminum sort of a thing which indigenously we can develop, and complete solution can be provided over there. The other area will be where the neutrality, carbon neutral will be the focus on the CAFE norms. As you know, there is aspects going on, deliberations going on in, and that is the biggest player, I think, where the CO2 reductions is going to come in. For India, currently, if you look into hybridization, although is not being picked up, but is going to also be a good candidate, where the CO2 reductions on a step-by-step basis can be done if optimal solutions are provided, rather than not the big one, the complete major hybrid sort of a thing.
Right.
This is again one area. Alternative fuels are there. The roadmaps will come in with less carbon intensive fuels coming in. That will be there. So I think there is multiple fields which can be addressed on, and as ARA, we are working on these multiple areas and trying to say that we provide the needed support to the industry. We need provide necessary support to the startups, because this is one area again government has provided impetus. The Ministry of Heavy Industries announced their fund, and we have a platform called Technovus, where the problem statements are given and problems. So many of these problem statements are focused in this direction.
Okay.
We are looking into alternative battery chemistries. We are looking into the thermal management of the batteries. So these are all areas we are trying to see how a better solution can be offered, which gives you more efficiency directly related to lowering the CO2.
Indeed, busy plans there, and interesting times ahead. And I'm sure the auto industry, Indian automotive industry, will again show its resilience and show its capabilities. Of course, with in working in a collaboration with organizations like ARAI. So wishing you and your team all the very best. And again, on that note, Dr. Mathai, pleasure to have another very interesting, insightful conversation with you. Best wishes. Thank you very much.
I look forward to further interactions, particularly as we evolve and as we face new challenges.
I'm sure we will have many more such fruitful discussions. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers, thank you very much for tuning into ET Auto and to watch this very interesting conversation with Dr. Reji Mathai, Director of Automotive Research Association of India. So on that note, I'll take your leave. Please take care, stay safe, and goodbye.